And we are pleased to welcome to our studios Jean-Michel Gires. He is the president and CEO of a company called Total E&P Canada Limited. And welcome to Toronto. I know this is one of your very first few times you've been in the city, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think everybody's heard of ExxonMobil and Royal Dutch Shell and Chevron and BP and ConocoPhillips, but I suspect a lot fewer people have heard of Total. And you're one of the big super energy companies in the world. So tell us a bit about the company before we start.
Yeah, Total is the fifth largest oil and gas company in the world, international company. It's based in France, based in Paris, but we have gone internationally. Basically, you don't have any oil and gas in France, so that was the reason why we went internationally from the very beginning. We have a very large international presence, in 130 countries. We're just involved in exploration and production, so producing oil and gas, refining and petrochemicals, making all type of petroleum products and chemical products, even some specialty chemicals. We involve as well in marketing. I would say wherever, those 130 countries are many of those countries, including Africa, Asia, where we do market our products.
And you're in charge of Canada?
I'm in charge of Canada, yeah.
And you've been here for what, two and a half years, something?
I've been in Canada for 2.5 years. I'm based in Calgary. I'm very pleased to be in Canada, I have to tell you. It's a very pleasant place to be working. And we mainly focus on the development of oil and gas and mainly oil sands in the western part of Canada, in Alberta.
Well, you know what? I saw the Minister of Natural Resources at an event last night in Toronto. And when I told him I'd be interviewing you today, do you know what he said to me? He said, be nice to this guy. He's about to invest $20 billion in Canada. And I told him, my job's not really to be nice to you, but thanks for the advice anyway. But you're going to put $20 billion into Canada?
Yeah, that's the intent.
The plan.
That's the plan. We have been working on this plan for the last 10 years. We have been mainly attracted by the size of the resource, especially those oil sands, very significant resource, and out of that capacity to be producing oil for quite a long time, long plateaus in the future. Understanding this is a challenging game to be in, but in our global portfolio, we think we need this type of long-term resource, and that's why we have been attracted by this resource. So during the last 10 years, we developed a portfolio of projects, through accessing different leases, making a few acquisitions.
Are you partnering with anybody?
Partnering with many different companies, but I want to mention especially Suncor, because we made a very significant alliance just back 1 year ago with Suncor, and we are going to develop together 3 of the 4 major projects we are involved in. So we are still in the engineering phase of those projects, but they are going to move forward in the next years to come.
Are you oil only or natural gas as well?
No, mainly oil sands for the time being, so mainly oil. Obviously, when you have such a presence, many things might evolve in the future, but for the time being, I have to tell you, we are busy enough with the development with the oil sands. That's where we focus. We have as well, some specialty chemicals and some lubricants activities here in Canada, in Eastern Canada, small businesses, but which are developing as well. But the major bet of Total in Canada is for the oil sands in Alberta.
How many people are you planning to employ while you're here?
Well, today we are 325 people, mainly in Calgary and more in Fort McMurray. But we are going to be around 2,000 people by 2017, 2018, when we'll be fully developing our projects.
I know you're not a politician, and I know you don't necessarily want to talk politics, but this is a very political issue, you'll understand, of course. And recently, the Premier of Ontario and the Premier of Alberta got into a bit of a discussion about whether or not it's a good idea for the oil sands to be as popular as they are, because it's keeping the Canadian dollar high, and the Premier of Ontario felt hurting our manufacturing base here in this province. You got a view on this? Who's right?
No, I'm not going to jump in the political discussion in itself. What I want to believe is Canada has a great opportunity to be developing its natural resources, and it's not only oil. It's natural gas, it's uranium, it's wood, it's agriculture. It's many opportunities. Oil sands are a very significant opportunity. They are based in Alberta, that's true, and you cannot relocate those resources. They are based in Alberta, that's what nature...
But are the benefits only for Alberta?
No, definitely not. When you develop such major projects like, our projects, it's a lot of activity at all different stages. Engineering, it's supplying equipment, it's contractors being directly involved in the construction opportunities. It's many jobs, based either in Ontario potentially or in any other Canadian province, which can be at stake, or in Alberta, for construction workers mainly. So want to believe, that's a great opportunity for many Canadians to engage. We see that it does attract a lot of interest, given as well as the economic context. Those are, some of the very important opportunities happening in Canada. So we want to believe that for Ontario, that's a real opportunity as well, to engage through know-how, through technologies, through supplies, through engineering, through jobs, through partnership with universities, partnership with technology providers, in order to help developing those oil sands.
Let me pick up on one of those things, partnerships with universities. What are the potential there?
Important. We are very short of human resources in Alberta. If we are long in hydrocarbon resources, very short in human resources. And that's maybe what makes a little bit the paradox of the Alberta challenges. So we need more people. We need well-educated people. We need people, able to develop the technologies which are going to be useful for us. So obviously, scholarships are quite important. Having the young people being educated in university to understand those challenges we are after and maybe be excited or interested by those challenges. R&D, research and development, is an important challenge. Still plenty of challenges in front of us to be more efficient in economical terms, in technical terms, in environmental performance as well. So all those dimensions, through R&D, through education, through partnerships, we can engage better with universities in Ontario.
You mentioned environmental, and I want to pick up on that now. Is there a way to develop the oil sands without killing the planet in the process?
Yes, definitely. If not, I wouldn't be there. My previous position before I joined Canada was to be in charge of sustainable development at the total group level. And you understand completely that any economical activity, any industrial activity has to be developed reconciling what we do with a good level of environmental performance and social performance as well, which means engaging with local stakeholders. Oil sands have their own challenges for the environment. Definitely the environmental footprint is heavier than it would be for conventional oil and gas activities.
Lots of water use too.
Yeah, well, in all different metrics of the environmental performance, you can mention energy we consume, which means as well greenhouse gases emissions, water, which is at the core of the different processes we use, both for mining and in situ processes. We consume a lot of water. Hopefully, we can recycle a significant part of that water. Land, because there is a footprint, especially for the mining activities, and a commitment at the later stage to reclaim that land, so we can rebuild, sustainable ecosystems in the local context of the boreal forest, all those different dimensions all together. Tailings, which is an activity following the development of our extraction activities for mining. So tailings has to be better managed in the development of the oil sands.
You know the argument that the environmental movement uses, which is it's all well and good for you to spend $20 billion here and employ people for 20 years, but then our kids are going to be here for a lot longer than that, and if you ruin the planet in the process, it doesn't seem like a very good deal in the long run. You want to speak to that?
Well, that's precisely what I was trying to explain, developing oil sands, but managing properly the environmental performance. So we would minimize, energy auto-consumed and obviously CO2 emissions. We would, minimize as well the water consumption, net withdrawal, either from the river, the Athabasca River for the mining activities, or from the aquifers, and recycle maximum out of that.
And this can be done?
This can be done. The industry has already been working and delivering a better performance over the years. We still have very significant R&D programs going on. The industry made recently another move, and I am a great believer in this move, which is to promote a more collaborative approach between all the different players, because all those projects to happen in the same area. So collaboration will help us to go faster, develop better solutions, implement them faster as well, engage with others, because we think that those universities, those technology providers, potentially new startups, even the clean tech world, has something to bring in order to help us to deliver a better performance altogether, and engage as well with our different stakeholders, especially First Nations and all the local stakeholders and goals as well, in order to deliver a better environmental performance. So yes, we believe this is feasible to reconcile industrial dimension with those environmental and social performance elements.
Another question a lot of people are asking is whether we even need this at all, because they see what's happening here in the province of Ontario, where we're moving increasingly towards using more renewables, sun, hydro, wind, and the question then becomes, do we really want to undergo this expenditure, and do we need this other natural gas to be exploited in such a fashion? Where does this fit into the whole energy mix?
Well, I think you have to look at the global perspective behind that for energy consumption on this planet. You have more and more people. Today, 7 billion people, potentially 9 billion people at a later stage. Many of them are not yet developed at the levels they'd like to, like what's happening in North America. Everybody has heard about the emerging countries like China, India, Brazil, wanting to get as well their share of the development. That means new energy being needed in order to supply their needs. And for oil and gas, you have to look at different possibilities, but the Canadian resource, especially the resource of the oil sands we are talking about, is a very significant one. So here is a need for those emerging countries and an opportunity for Canadians to develop that resource in order to match those needs. So that's what we are after. Doesn't prevent from working on other solutions everywhere we can. We think we are going to need all different energies for the future. They are very complementary, not only hydrocarbons like oil and gas or coal, but as well renewable energy, energy efficiency as well, which is quite a significant opportunity in order to be more efficient in everything we do. So altogether, better energy solutions and plenty of opportunities do exist. I understand many different players work on those opportunities here in Ontario for wind, for solar, for better recycling. And it's not only in Ontario, it's everywhere in North America. It's in Europe, where maybe in some of those different avenues, the work is more advanced than what we see here in Canada. A lot has been done during the last decade for the development of new energies, and will still be done for the next future.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left here, and I want to tackle two more things. You know of Greenpeace, of course. Here's what Greenpeace has to say about what's going on here. In the absence of any commitments to real reductions in pollution, with penalties for not meeting them, this is simply another example of greenwash, where an industry association makes vague promises to clean up its act in order to avoid regulations with real teeth. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's not really what we are after, what we are trying to do. We are trying to develop industrial projects, but managing properly our performance. The level of environmental performance we do target is public. We have made it completely public through the different hearing processes we went through in all the different dimensions I had to mention. More than that, we work in R&D. We work through collaboration because we definitely think we have opportunities to improve that environmental performance for the medium and long term. So a lot is going to be delivered. You probably heard that we created the last recent organization, COSIA, which is a collaboration forum where we are going to develop those new technologies. And regulations have to adapt as well. They do adapt. Regulations is already very sophisticated.
That was going to be my last question. Okay. The other side of the thing, which is, just finally, are we overly regulated in this country, in your view, that makes it difficult to do business here?
I think we value the fact that in Canada, the energy development is left to the energy of the market forces. So we have those opportunities to develop those new projects, but you have a pretty comprehensive regulatory system in place, very well developed, maybe too sophisticated, because it's 3 different levels between the federal level, the provincial level, the territorial level, and it's many different aspects, maybe too many regulators at the same time. So it's not always easy to find your way. Total, had to go through that process for one of our projects, Jocelyn-North mine, and took us about 6 years to get the necessary regulatory approvals, which is quite a long period. But that's why I welcome those opportunities which have been announced both by the federal government and by the provincial government in Alberta to work for regulatory reform, which shouldn't lower the level of ambition behind those regulatory processes, but maybe make better distinction between what are the real objectives and how can we fulfill them, and maybe just trying to make a rational choice about the best placed regulator and about maybe a process which could be better streamlined. So we would welcome that, because 6 years is definitely a long period for an international investor like us. Nevertheless, good system and well positioned, because it does exist and probably does protect the fundamental interest of Canada and BISI and our own interest as well. But could be probably optimized, and so that's why we welcome this regulatory reform.
Very good. Mr. Gires, thank you very much for coming into TVO tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.